I never thought I'd be making any sort of political video, and I have an iPhone resting on my knee, no mic, so clearly I'm not set up for it, but it's an important message, so I'd like to get it out there anyway if I can. We are going to talk about the Charlie Kirk situation, and while I realize many of you are undoubtedly burned out on the coverage at this point, I'd ask you to bear with me because this may be a different perspective than you might expect. Now, this is going to be kind of a two-part video. Part one, I'm going to talk about what I thought about Charlie Kirk and what he did for a living. And then we're going to talk about the reactions, particularly those that justified or celebrated what's happened. And I am going to ask some kind of hard hitting questions in that segment, but I will say up front, if you are one of those people who justified or cheered on what happened, I am not here to judge you. I'm not here to call you names. I'm not here to try to get you canceled or express any sort of schadenfreude, anything like that. I'd only ask that you hear me out and consider what I have to say. Now, about Charlie Kirk. This might be a bit of a different approach to what other people have been taking, and a lot of people lead with, "Well, I don't agree with everything he said, but," which is kind of a ridiculous caveat because you're never going to agree with anyone 100%, not even your closest confidant. It's never going to happen. And disagreements are normal. Furthermore, they're healthy. In fact, they're essential to interpersonal relationships, whether it's with your peers, your coworkers, your friends, your spouse, your partner. If you can use interpersonal communication to settle disagreements in a civil manner, without raising your voice, without cussing, certainly without raising hands or using violence, you could forge strong relationships. I also believe that's how we forge strong society, if we could do this in a public forum, which I believe is what Charlie Kirk did. And I would like to put forward kind of a thought experiment and imagine, if you will, something like a bizarro world from the Superman comics, kind of like an alternate universe where everything's the same but it's kind of flipped. Now, instead of a man called Charlie Kirk, imagine there's a woman named Carly Kirk, and she holds the diametric opposite viewpoint of everything Charlie believed. She's pro-choice, she is pro-open borders, she is anti-2A, pro-universal health care, socialist, you name it. But she did the same thing that Charlie did. She went campus to campus, she had an open microphone, and she allowed young adults, anyone really, who had an opposing viewpoint to approach the microphone and speak their mind. And they would have conversations, they would have dialogue, they would have discussions. And there would be disagreements, of course, and naturally she would try to change their hearts and mind. And if at the end of the day, the people on the other end of the microphone said, I've heard you out, I don't agree. I'm digging in deeper. I still believe in what I believe. You say, okay, well, clearly we're not going to agree. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Always respectful, always kind. Now, I would respect and admire this person, this Carly Kirk, every bit as much as I admired and respected Charlie Kirk. It has nothing to do with the beliefs. It has nothing to do with the ideologies or the politics. It's not about left and right. It's about the methodology. That is what I agreed with. It was the fact that they could hold peaceful discourse and use freedom of speech to try to change hearts and minds. It was the extension of the olive branch, and that is the right way to do it. And I am afraid that something has been taken from us that we may never recover, because now people on both sides are going to be terrified to do that. I hope that's not the case, because I truly feel that is the right way to go about things. And again, it has nothing to do with the beliefs. I don't care about whether you agreed with the beliefs or not. And if this woman, this Charlie Kirk foil, this Carly Chirk, if what happened to Charlie happened to her, I would be equally devastated, and I would think it's equally a national tragedy, not only because it's someone's passing, because of what it represents. And that's the terror to use free speech as it's intended to be used. It is about the methodology. That is what I respected. Now we're going to talk about the reactions. And if you bear with me, I may create another scenario. This one's not going to be like the last one. This is going to be a lot more grounded. In fact, it's going to be quite realistic. I'd like you to imagine we're in mid 2000s Iraq conflict, post 9/11 world. And let's say we're in an active war zone, active conflict. Let's say there's a MARSOC sniper, a United States Marine Corps sniper, got his crosshairs trained on an Iraqi propagandist. And this Iraqi propagandist is delivering a rousing speech to a group of military-aged men. This is what we know visually. There's ears on the situation, and there's an interpreter. And what's being relayed to the sniper is, yes, this man is a propagandist. However, he is not putting forth any rhetoric that is going to directly incite violence. Now, in warfare, there are rules. There are rules of engagement. This means you cannot go around engaging targets at will just because you think they're the bad guys. They have to be demonstrating hostility, therefore making them hostile, or they have to be demonstrating clear hostile intent. And even in the latter case, this isn't always clear cut. Sometimes you have to go up chain of command, ask permission. Can I treat this subject as hostile? Let's say the sniper does that. Radios the CO, says, I know he's not spreading anything violent right now, but I feel in my gut this is going to lead to an insurgency. Permission to engage, permission to treat as hostile. CO says, no, do not engage. We cannot treat this subject as hostile. Now let's say the sniper says, you know what, forget that. I feel in my heart this is the right thing to do. So he engages the target, takes the shot. What that sniper has done is he has committed a war crime. He'd be court-martialed. He would no longer be a United States Marine. And when this news reaches the States, I'm going to assume that none of you would be justifying or celebrating this abhorrent war crime that was done in an active war in a war zone by United States military against an opposing force. I'm going to assume that. So why on earth would you even entertain justifying or celebrating violence that is United States citizen on United States citizen, carried out on U.S. soil, in what is supposed to be a time of peace? Certainly, we are not supposed to be in active war against one another. And furthermore, what gives anyone the right to make up his own rules of engagement and say, I'm declaring this fellow citizen hostile because of his words? Words that by no legal definition meet inciting violence. None. And says to himself, I'm going to declare them hostile. I'm going to engage the target. What gives anyone that right? And I'm not even asking this from a political bent. I'm asking this from a humanistic lens. Because truthfully, I don't understand it. And frankly, it breaks my heart that I even have to ask the question. As far as I'm concerned, the best we can do right now with this gamut of negativistic emotions running amok in so many of us is to make a concerted effort to be kind and be empathetic to your fellow human, even when it's not reciprocated. And I am so sick and tired of the idea that they're not going to be nice to me, I'm not going to be nice to them. I'm Team Low Road. You know what? I'm going to be real with you. That is a very childish mindset. It's petty, it's small. And further, if you're one of those people where all you're saying right now, your side's more violent, no, your side's more violent, your side, you know what? I'm sorry if this sounds harsh. You've got some growing up to do. It's not a contest. You cannot control anyone else's thoughts or actions. And that should never preclude you, as an individual, making the conscientious choice to be a kinder human to your fellow human, even when it's not reciprocated, especially when it's not reciprocated. And I'm not a religious person. You don't need to be a religious person. All you have to be is a basically decent person. It's not that hard. So please, be kind, be cool, be supercalifragilistic, to your fellow human. If we all make a concerted effort to do that, I promise you, the world will be a better place, and it is well worth the work. Thank you for watching.